Well, it's good to see everybody again, back from recruiting. We have a quick addition to the list. We just came through officially a real good player out of New Jersey, Bergen Catholic High School, Javante Jean-Baptiste. He's a outside linebacker, defensive end type player, so one late addition. And I know coaches talked about the class in total. It was a heck of a run, a heck of a December, and then really a very productive January, and ending up in a great class. Young men that I think represent exactly what this program's about, and certainly the athletic ability that's needed to maintain the high level of play that is tradition around here. So we're excited about the class. I know we have 14 defensive players that I'm very excited about, and some of them are here on campus already. We had a great workout with them this morning, and it's great to get back off the road and get back to being with your players and coaching your players. So it's an exciting time here, and we're itching to get going. So with that, I'll open it up for any questions.
Third row left, Dan. Greg, there were rumors about you going on to the NFL. What was the process like? How many jobs are you considering? What made you ultimately decide to stay here?
Well, you know, I made it a kind of a personal policy of mine never to discuss other jobs than the one I have. But in general, I can say, you know, after the season, there were opportunities both in college football and in the National Football League. But at the end of the day, you know, my family, myself, we love it here. It's a tremendous people at the university in town, and this has become home. So you make those decisions as a coach and just keep moving.
You had said previously that a time would come for you to talk about what happened in Tennessee. Do you think that time has come yet?
No, today's about this recruiting class. So what a great day for Ohio State and Ohio State football. This certainly isn't the time. There will be. You guys have been, I want to thank you too. You've been incredibly respectful with that request. And there will, I promise you, there will be a time. And when that time is right, we'll be candid with you and talk about it.
Third row, right? Ari?
Hey, Greg, with all these rumors and all these reports that you would potentially be leaving to the NFL, you were knee-deep in a lot of essential recruitments that you guys were in since the early signing period. I was wondering how that affects you personally, not only with having to deal with all the questions that you're getting from everybody in your life, reporters, everything, but the kid's family and all that stuff. I mean, is it hard to convince somebody that, hey, I'm actually going to stay? And was that ever a real issue for you?
And I think it's all about the relationship you established before that point. And if they've experienced you doing what you said you're going to do, then they trust you. And I'm always very, very open and honest with our recruits. It's the only way to do it. And we communicate. But when you have that trust and you have that communication, those issues aren't as paramount as people believe. Now, does it get used against you? Yes, that's part of the recruiting strategies. But I think it all comes back to relationship and trust.
Was there ever a time during these recruitments where you were unsure whether you were returning? Did that ever have a negative impact?
No, that's, you know, again, stick to the job I always do, the job I have. It's flattering when people have an interest in you, but this is where my family and I wanted to be, so I don't ever get off that track very much. So when you're dealing with recruits, that's what makes it easy. You can be honest with them about that.
Front row left, Tim.
Greg, obviously you guys added another guy, the defensive staff, and Alex Grinch. Urban talked about, the process of scouting Grinch before he came in. How involved were you in the process of bringing him on board?
When Coach involved me, that's when I became involved. As a head coach, that's something you have to do. You always have to keep looking over from the 30,000-foot level to protect the program. As a coordinator and assistant coach, you need to be right down in the thick of it and handling your day-to-day responsibilities. So Coach kept me in the loop, but he didn't really ask me to do anything until it was getting to be more of a real situation. And then it's all about, again, communication. I think when you visit with people and you get a feel for will they fit our culture. And I'm excited, I'll tell you, Alex Grinch is a great hire, and I've enjoyed working with him in the short time that we have. And I'm really looking forward to now that transition to football, and because he's a tremendous football coach.
If you guys talk kind of the sharing of ideas, different things that have worked well for him and in what he's done at Washington State?
We have. He was around a little bit in the interview process while we were working on football back when. But then when you're out on the road recruiting, it's not like you sit down and start drawing plays up, but you're in the car together, you're on a plane together, and in an airport, and you just, that's what football coaches talk about. So I'm excited. I think he's going to enhance what we do for sure, and he's really, really great with the players.
Front row right, Bill?
I'm sure you want to be a head coach at some point. Given what happened in Tennessee, was there a part of you that viewed the NFL as the better way of pursuing that? Okay, get back to the NFL, especially as a coordinator of the Patriots, and that would be an easier pathway. And since you're staying here, how does that affect the way you see your future?
Well, I'm not going to address anything with NFL, college, or anything like that. Stick to the job I have. I do have aspirations of doing that because, I kind of feel that's what I'm called to do, but it doesn't have to happen, if that makes sense. I've done it for 13 years. I enjoy doing it, but I love what I'm doing right now, and that's part of, every decision. I'm at this stage in my career was, do I enjoy getting up, going to work? Do I enjoy the people I do it with? And most importantly, is my family in a good situation? When the answer is yes, 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 then it really would take something special to get you to not do that, if that makes sense.
Front row right, Austin?
Greg, Urban mentioned that most likely that 10th assistant would be a cornerbacks coach. Is there anything, I try not to get too ahead of anything, but were you envisioning more of a big picture role, or how would that affect you coming into next season if that's what happens, being that Alex Grinch is another secondary guy?
We're kind of working through all that right now, but when you get to add a coach, it was always as a head coach, I always thought it was odd. There was an odd number of coaches, yet you could use that 10th coach. It was important, I thought. And finally it happened. So now you can have your both staffs be equally staffed. Usually what happens is the head coach may have grown up on offense or defense, so he kind of lends more to that side. Now it's perfect, right? I think 5 and 5. How we work it out, that's not really important. We're going to have great coaches here at Ohio State. That's one of the best things about being here. You work with tremendous coaches. Wherever I can help players, that's where I'll help, and that'll be coach's decision. And then we'll talk about it, obviously, what's the best way to put the puzzle together. But ultimately, that's a head coaching. As he looks at his staff, how does he want to deploy those guys?
Maybe you can't answer this, but could that be a way that you are a sort of head coach? If Urban has that for the defense or the overall program, but it's possible that you could take an overall, control of the defense, right? Is that an option?
Coach treats me very well. He respects my opinion. That's as an assistant coach, whether you're a coordinator or assistant coach, when your opinion is respected, that's really everything. Because you're going to work the same if you're a head coach, at least if you're a real dude coach, right? You're going to treat it the same if you're a head coach or assistant coach. At least that's the way I look at it. And the biggest thing is that your opinions are respected. You don't have to do it your way, obviously, right? Coach is going to make the best decision for the program. But I think Coach Meyer has a great way of doing that, not only with me, but with all of our assistants. And that's part of, when you're a leader, you give people ownership. It really inspires them to do more. So I think that's certainly one of our strengths here.
Time for just a couple more. Second row middle, Ryan?
I know y'all have been on him for quite a while, but in the last month especially, as y'all are chasing a 5-star offensive tackle, just what was your confidence level, heading into January, and then did you think before the visit that you'll need to knock it out of the park, and I guess just what was the process like of securing his commitment, and how did you feel when y'all found out he was going to come to Ohio State?
I assume you're talking about Nick?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, a couple different things, right? My sons played with him. I actually coached him in high school, so I had a pre-existing relationship with Nick, which gave us a little bit of an in. But he was being recruited by the top schools in the country, and Nick is a very deep, smart guy, and he was going to examine everything. So it wasn't going to be because I know the Schianos were going to Ohio State. He was picking what was best for his future. Am I confident when I'm involved in those things? Because I have a great institution to put out there, you feel better than if you didn't. But when you're battling against the people we were battling, you just work as hard as you can and hope the chips fall your way.
Second row right, Tony?
Urban mentioned when he found out that Kerry was leaving, he was shocked by it, but also said that you stepped in with the corners in his absence. I'm wondering what your thoughts, your initial reaction to Kerry leaving, and then how the players have reacted since he's been going.
Well, a couple parts to that question. First off, I respect and really enjoyed working with Kerry Combs. I mean, he is a man's man, a really good football coach, but he's become a very close friend. So that part of it is always sad. That happens in our profession. You know, you stay in touch, but it's not the same as working with each other. He's an excellent coach, so he's going to be hard to replace. He's an excellent recruiter. He's going to be even harder to replace. But to the question of working with the corners, I love working with the corners. And even when I was a head coach, I worked with the corners. Even in the NFL, when I was a head coach, I worked with the corners. That's kind of what I enjoy doing. So regardless of what I'm doing, I'll be working with them some. But we're going to try to get, as we always do, the best coach we can to help us continue to move the program forward.
And how have the players been since Kerry left?
You know, players love Kerry Combs. And it's not just the corners, you know, it's the whole team, because he handles special teams and talks to the whole team. And he's such a dynamic guy that certainly we have to really, all of us, I don't know if you ever replace, when you have a guy with that big a personality, I don't know if you replace him with one guy. I think what we all have to do is I have to do a better job. Other coaches have to pick up the slack a little bit. And we hire a coach who's really good, and we keep this thing moving forward.
Okay, last couple, we'll go Doug and then Tim.
Greg, I know you said you want to talk about the job you have, but this isn't just like an NFL rumor. I think the football world expected you to be the next New England Patriots defensive coordinator. So why aren't you the next New England Patriots defensive coordinator?
I think in society we all have to be really careful because it's hard. Sometimes it's put out there so people assume that it's true. You know, and I think everything has to kind of slow down a little bit. That's what I wish. I understand the competition. I understand all that. So that's sometimes when things get moving, they get moving. But again, it's flattering when anybody would at least want to talk to you about doing a job. But I really love the job I have, so that's what I stick to. And it makes life much more doable that way.
When you're thinking about these opportunities, though, what are the conversations like, especially when your head coach is a guy like Urban that you have such a relationship with? He said you guys have been talking for hours. I know you're not going to detail all of that, but just in general, what's it like to talk through opportunities with someone that's your boss but is also your friend and understands his coaching business?
Very helpful. Yeah, it's very helpful. The one thing that I learned, and I know Coach does, is when people work hard for you and then things come up, you just be honest with them. Now, because he's one of my friends, that certainly, I know that for sure will happen. But I think as a young head coach, I used to make the mistake of trying to, I gotta keep him here, I gotta keep him. You have to do it. When a guy works hard for you, you have to tell him the truth, what you think, and he's gonna make the decision what's best for his family. You know, we both have a great boss in Gene Smith, and he's helpful with that stuff. So when you have people, that's when I talk about the tremendous place Ohio State is. I mean, the people are what make it tremendous. And those kind of relationships help you in those situations.
And final questions. Tim?
Yeah, you've gotten to know Petit-Frere better than anybody. What just stands out about him as a player? Why is he the #1 offensive tackle prospect in the country from your vantage point?
I think he's incredibly athletic for a man of his size. And he plays with the kind of 4 to 6 A to B attitude that we preach here all the time. And when you watch his tape, you just see it over and over and over again. You don't have to watch a highlight tape to see that. That coupled with his intellect. He's one of the smarter guys that I've ever been around when he's a 17 or 18-year-old kid. So he's a neat guy. I'm excited to get him up here because he's not only a great player, but someone that I care a great bit about.
But did you see this in him 3 years ago when you were down there
I
and
did.
not working, but sort of working?
No, I did. And I said to, I have obviously a lot of friends down there. I said to one of the guys I worked with, I said, that kid right there, he's going to be a special player. Now, he was probably 6'4", 205 pounds at the time. Heck, he came to our camp, he was 6'6", 227. This is a kid who's committed his life to becoming a big-time Division I offensive tackle. And that kind of work ethic, usually things work out. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Coach.